Greetings, everyone. I'm in shock because there's something shining on my face, and I'm not sure what it is. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful day. I hope you're staying well and safe. Today, I want to talk to you about Leca. A lot of people have asked me about growing my orchids in Leca, and so I want to just go into a little bit of detail on that. I grow most of my phals in water culture. In fact, water culture is my very first choice, hands down. But if I find that they don't like it because they're too stressed out or losing too many roots for whatever, they don't like the water culture, Leca is my next choice. And when I say Leca, I mean these clay balls right here that you can get on Amazon or probably eBay. I have not seen them sold in regular nurseries yet, like Lowe's or Menards, but they might start because these are becoming quite popular. So with that being said, also, I wanted to show you as well, they do come in different sizes. They come in this kind of size, they come in this kind of size. I think they come in bigger sizes than that. When I order my Leca, I'm not too picky. I make sure I don't order those big gigantic hunk pieces, but if they're smaller this size, I'm not picky because they both work the same. So why do I choose Leca for an orchid over water culture? And I just want to explain that just a little bit. This orchid was in my video a couple months ago, and I decided to take her out of water culture and put her in Leca because she just wasn't doing well in the water culture. She was losing roots, she was dehydrated, blah, blah, blah. So I put her in Leca, and I wanted to check her roots today because I haven't touched her except for adding water for, like I said, about 2 or 3 weeks. So I kind of wanted to see what her progress was. So with that, I'm going to take her out. And I can see that her progress is like really awesome. When I put her in the Leca, she didn't have any of these roots. And now she's got these nice green roots coming out, and she's got another new root. Now I know that she is still looking a little dehydrated, but you know what? I'm not going to flip out yet because she has made such great progress, and I'm sure that those roots are going to grow and reach down into the water at some point. And until then, that Leca is going to keep her moist enough that she's going to hydrate, but she's not going to be so moist that she's going to rot. Like if you put her in bark or sphagnum moss, the bark holds too much water. The Leca doesn't hold water, but the reason why I like it is because it's light enough and airy enough that these roots are still going to get plenty of air. They're still going to get plenty of light, but and they're still going to get moisture. They're not going to be drenched with water, but they'll still get moisture. That the Leca is the way to go, I guess. I mean, I'm just saying. So, with her being awesome as she is, all I'm going to do for her is I'm just going to throw her back. And notice how my crown is still up. I mean, even though she's in the Leca, you still want that crown up out of the glass so that she still gets plenty of airflow. And with airflow, I mentioned this in my other video, but I wanted to mention it real quick again. All my orchids are together. So with all that water, I don't need a humidifier. However, I do have a nice small oscillating fan that I have blowing on them all the time. They love to have air. The orchids don't like stagnant air. So what I do for her is, like I said, I just threw her back in the Leca. Now, with a phal in Leca, I still treat her the same as I do as she was in water culture. In other words, I don't fill that water up to there. I still do the proverbial keep the water right down here. But when I water her from the top, those Leca balls get moist enough that they also provide some moisture to her roots that are growing up here, if that makes sense. So that's why she is in Leca. and she seems to be really doing well. She's got a new leaf coming out, so I'm just going to leave her. I'm going to apologize to her for disturbing her today, but as you know, I'm just going to put her away and walk away for about a couple weeks, except for, you know, putting some water in there and keeping that water at about, you know, that level. You know, if you've watched my other videos, you know. All right, my next orchid that I had was this one. And this was in my other video as well. And again, she was not doing well in water culture, so I put her in Leca. And today I'm going back again to look at her roots. So I'm going to pull her out and see that she's still not doing very well. But some people tell me to cut off this bottom part. And I don't know, maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I did want to show you a not very successful orchid in Leca. And you know what I say to that? Sometimes you just have to walk away. You have to give up. Now, I'm not giving up on her because she's still, I mean, she's got a new leaf coming out. So, again, I'm just going to throw her back in as Leca. And I'll fill, you know, I'm going to make sure her water is about to right to there. And other than that, there's not much more I'm going to do for her except for walk away and not disturb her and cross my fingers that she does better. Okay, on my previous videos, I had mentioned some other different types of orchids. And I wanted to reintroduce you to those because they are in Leca. I put them in Leca right away. The minute I got them from the mail, I ordered these online because I found living in Ohio, my choices of orchids are phals. That's it, phals. So if I want to branch out, I actually have to go online. So let me show you this first one. This first one is called a PAF. Now, you're going to have to forgive me because I can't pronounce these orchid names no matter how hard I try. But anyways, this is a PAF, P-A-P-H. It's not a phal, it's a PAF. And I got her in Leca as well. And I treat her just like I do a phal as far as only leaving the water to about there. I don't go much further than there. So just her tips of her water are in Leca. And she has these little smaller balls in there. Like I said, I don't have a preference. It was just what I had. And she's growing a new leaf and she's spiked for me. I've had her in Leca, I'm going to say probably a month on this one. And she looks like she's doing awesome. Okay, so on this other video, on another video, I had my little miniature, and she's in a shot glass because at the time I couldn't find anything that would fit her because we can't get out to thrift shops. So I'm trying to find whatever I can find to put them in. Now, she has been in water culture for a long time. And because of that, because I haven't seen the type of growth for as long as she's been in water culture, today I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put her in Leca. I noticed that she is getting some, you know, some roots there, but she has been in water culture for, I'm going to say 6 months. And she's been slow growing. And so, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put her in Leca today. So today I'm going to use this. Notice how she's graduating from a shot glass to a wine glass. So she should be pretty happy about that. Now, my Leca has been soaking for about an hour, so it's nice and damp to begin with before I put them in there to begin with. And again, I'm just going to put her in there. I'm going to make sure that that crown is still got lots of, it's not, you know, not submerged. It's still up there so we can get some nice airflow. She's not anchored in there real well. I mean, she's still kind of loose in there, but that's okay. And those roots that are kind of laying on top there, if you can see, is just going to get enough water that's going to keep them moist. And she's going to start growing. I just know she will. Some roots down. She start growing the roots down. Again, with her, she's a phal. So I just do the proverbial 1/3 water. So let's cross our fingers that this will work for her. Like I said, she was doing okay in water culture, but for as long as she's been in water culture, she should be doing really awesome. So I'm going to put her there. What am I going to do? Walk away. All right, so my next orchid that I have is this one, and this is a Dicea, and she looks very different than any orchid that I have seen. She's going to get these tiny little delicate flowers that are going to bloom in between each one of those leaves. I put her in water culture, and she didn't seem to do bad, but for some reason I thought, I'm just going to put her in Leca. I just did it. I don't know why. And she seems to like it better. She's given me 2 new babies on here. Now with her though, I don't do the proverbial 1/3 water. With her, I fill her up to about there. And then once that water evaporates to about there, then I fill her up again. So she is kind of getting a dry wet cycle. Because, like I said, these clay balls aren't like bark. They don't hold water. But they do give her roots enough air and room. And they just, I don't know, they like it. So if they like it, I like it. So that's what I do. That's what I do with her. She's in an east-facing window. And again, she's a Dicea. Now, let me tell you also, I don't fertilize any of my orchids. A lot of people who grow in water culture, which I still consider this water culture because it's just water and Leca, don't do fertilizer. There is too much of a chance that you can burn the roots. So if you do fertilize, number one, make sure it's a good organic fertilizer. Don't buy that Jobs or Miracle Grow, all that synthetic stuff. Make sure you plunk down the money and buy a good fertilizer and then dilute it. Leave them soak in it for maybe 2 hours, dump it out, rinse the roots off, and put it back in the jar, fill our jar with water. But like I said, I don't fertilize my orchids and they bloom. So I think the only thing that helps an orchid to bloom is patience and time. All right, my next orchid here is, now I will never be able to pronounce this one, a Degomora Scary orchid. That's all I know. Degomarma. Degomora. I'm sure your orchid professionals will know exactly how to pronounce it, but I don't. Now she is just a little baby. So again, I put her in Leca, but I know that she would do just as awesome in water culture. I mean, all these that I have in Leca, I really do feel that they would do just as well in just water. But for some reason, I'm growing them in the Leca, and I just do. So again with him, I fill the water up to about there, and then I let it evaporate on down to there, and then I fill him up again. He's also in an east-facing window. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he is from the Oncidium family. So don't watch these videos to get good pronunciation of orchids, because you might move on because you're not going to get it here. All right, the next one that I have is my coconut pie. And she, again, is in Leca. Now, I had her in water culture, and she did great. She was doing great in water culture, but I just put her in Leca. I don't know why. I just did. Again, I do the proverbial fill up, let down, fill up, let down. And I like because, see, I can see her roots. And that's another reason why I like the Leca versus the bark, because I can actually see the root action, and then I can see if there's a problem with her. And she is growing new little pods for me. And when she blooms, she will smell like coconut pie. So that's why she's called coconut pie, which is kind of cool. Now this is a Catalea. And I do grow this one in water culture. A lot of people grow theirs in sphagnum moss or bark, and they freak out when they see anybody growing their cattleyas in water culture because they say they like dry feet. But I haven't found that. She's been in water culture for probably 6 months, and she's doing awesome. She's even given me some new little shoots coming out, and she's got a bunch of new green roots coming out. What I do with her again is I fill her all the way up to her crown. She's not like a fowl. She doesn't like just the 1/3. She wants that water all the way up to the crown. And I don't change it, even though it's green and everything. If it doesn't stink, I just leave it. And by stink, you'll know what I mean if it stinks. So, and then I just put her back in there and top off that water every now and then to make sure that it's up there. She's again in an east-facing window, and she seems to be loving life. So she is in water culture. Now this one is called a Maxillaria something, and it looks like grass. She has been in quite a few of my videos. She's not grass, I swear. And again, she's in Leca. Again, I do the proverbial down, fill it up, down, fill it up. And she's been doing awesome. Again, this one I have found through a lot of research will not grow if you don't have a fan. So she really needs air movement. And since I don't live in Florida and she can't be outside, a fan, I guess, is the next best thing. All right, I just got a couple quick ones here. Again, I believe these are part of the Cattleya orchids. I have him in Leca again as well. Now with him, I don't let it dry out. I keep that water up to his crown at all times because he's the same as this one, which likes the water all the way up to his crown all the time. So that's what I've been doing. And I'm getting a nice new little baby coming in. He's a baby as well. Now, I might add a little more Leca to him because he's kind of leaning, isn't he? So after this video, I'll add a little more Leca to him to prop him up a little better. Here's another one that I got. She was my very first one. And of course, being a new mom, I was all freaking out and kept changing her medium. Oh my God, she doesn't like it. If I would have just left her alone, she would have been beautiful by now. But no, I kept having to fuss with her. But I put her in Leca. I've left her alone, and she seems to be doing really well. She's got a couple new roots coming out, and so there. Just quit fussing with them. Quit being like a new mom, for heaven's sakes. Now, I don't only grow my orchids in Leca, but I do grow some of my houseplants in Leca as well. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that real quick. This is right here is a Chinese evergreen. Again, he's in Leca. And he doesn't have roots yet because I just started him. So I will keep that water going till about there until he gets good roots. And then I'll only leave the water into there. Now these, I do fertilize my houseplants when they are in Leca. And let me just tell you, when I first put him in Leca, I thought I was going to lose him. He threw such a fit. I mean, this was all full with leaves. They turned yellow. They drooped. He whined. He kicked. He screamed. He carried on. I said, no, you're going to grow in Leca one way or another. And you know what? Look, he's got a new little leaf. And he decided maybe he does like Leca. So, but like I said, when I do fertilize, I fertilize with the Dynagrow. I like the Dynagrow for my house plants. Mostly it is for hydroponics. And when I say hydroponics, a lot of people use this fertilizer that comes in 3 different different kinds of fertilizer, and you mix them for depending on whether your plant's blooming or full, blah blah blah. Mostly for marijuana. Okay, there I said it. You do different fertilizers for different stages of the life. I don't know. But if you don't want to go through all that chemistry fussing by mixing and carrying on, the Dynagrow is awesome for growing plants in hydroponic. It's already mixed. I mix this up in 5-gallon buckets. And then when I do water, I just keep it still, the water to about there. And I water every other time with a fertilizer. And then when I go after about, I don't know, 3 months of every other time fertilizing, I will dump this water out and give it a good rinse under the tap water and just drain it back out and then put fresh water right there, because the Leca does need flushed every now and then, because all the fertilizer and minerals are going to collect on this Leca, and it just, yeah, you know, it's recommended that you flush your plants. So with that being said, I'm going to go on to something else. Oh yeah, this is the other thing I use is Super Thrive. It's basically fish emulsion with a few other nutrients in there. That's basically all it is. It's going to smell like butt, but it's awesome, and all your plants will love this, except for your orchids. Don't give it to your orchids. Might burn the roots. Okay. Now I was talking about flushing your plant. A lot of people, when they grow in Leca hydroponically, they grow in these kind of pots. They have the slits in them, and you put your plant in here, and you put, you know, you fill it up with the Leca. Put your Leca in there, and then they have what they call a catch pot. And what that is you just, it doesn't have any drainage, and you just put your plant in there, and then when you water, you just make sure that just water is in the bottom of that to about there. And you just leave it. You just leave it in the Leca, in your little catch-shaped pot in there, and water it. People like to use these kind of pots because they're easier to flush your plants. Because flushing the plants, your house plants in Leca, not so much your orchids, but your house plants in Leca, because you do use fertilizer, you really are recommended to flush them. And this is easier because you can get it underneath your drain, underneath your faucet, and then it drains out and blah, blah, blah. So that's why some people grow in that, because it's easier to drain it out versus having to hold your plant, you know. Now, I have not transferred any of my regular houseplants over to Leca because I'm afraid to. I just think I'm just going to stress them out too bad. I just, you know, because you have to, when you transfer your plant to Leca, it's the same thing as transferring an orchid to Leca, meaning you have to get all that dirt and everything off its roots before you put it in the Leca. I found that if I just start a plant, like take one of my plants and make a start and immediately throw it in Leca, it will do much better. So that's what I did with that one. That's what I did with that one. This one, little philodendron, look at him. He's got all sorts of root action going there. My little begonia, same thing. She's in Leca in just a vase. And with her, I have a mama plant, and I just keep taking little snips of mama from mama and just, you know, sticking them down in there. So there, you know, there's different stages. But again, I keep that water up to about there until she gets a nice good root action going on, and then you only want to keep it to about there. Okay, now she has a little bit more water in her because I just watered her. Okay, and this one right here is my African violet. I just got her a couple days ago, and I got her off the clearance rack at Lowe's, and I tell you what, I don't know, she was looking really bad. But I decided I'm going to try this transferring her straight from dirt to Leca, because this little girl had nothing else to lose. So I just put her in one of these pots, and it has a bunch of holes in the bottom. See that? And then I have a catch pot that has just a little bit of water. and that is the Dyna-Gro water. It is the fertilized water, and I just put her in there to soak. See that? And then I check that water periodically. And when it's done, or when it's dry, I'll just add a little bit more to it, because I don't want her all soaking in Leca, but I do want her to get a drink. So that is really, like I said, the reasons why I choose Leca over water culture. You will never see me choose bark or sphagnum moss. Hate that stuff. Get it out of my house. Rotted too many orchids with it. But I do find that I like the Leca. It's, like I said, it's light enough, it's airy enough that the roots are going to get plenty of air, and plenty, because that's another, you know, they like air, and they're not going to crush the roots. The roots have easy access to grow. And so that's why I like the Leca. I hope, you know, this video helped you a little bit on your Leca journey if you're thinking about going on one. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. In the meantime, stay well, stay safe, and happy growing.